Hey, Steve Stine from GuitarZoom here. Thank you so much for joining me. What we're going to talk about today is how to make your guitar strumming sound better, sound more organic, sound more authentic when people hear you play. And it's a very straightforward idea. And what we're going to be talking about here is dynamics, okay, or what I refer to as dynamic variation, or oftentimes I have a guitar course called Strumming Made Easy where I talk about, for instance, it's called the ocean effect. And what it is the availability of being able to make your strumming sound more natural and less predictable. And basically what you're doing with this is you're taking the dynamics of the instrument and you're trying to make a variety of different approaches. So think of it this way, strumming loud or soft. And that's pretty obvious, but we forget about it often when we're learning how to strum and all those sorts of things and we're thinking about chords. We forget that music should flow. It should ebb and flow back and forth. So playing loudly and then following that with something soft. Playing a lot versus strumming a little bit in different places. Strumming more strings, strumming less strings. And so let's look at some examples of these things. Let's just take a G chord, however you play G, don't worry about that. And let's just think about how we could strum this chord to create some dynamics, okay? So we're not looking for a predictable strumming pattern or anything like that. We're going to try and bring the music up and down by strumming louder and softer in various places. And then we'll tie that into the next thing. So I've got this. You see what I mean? We can move back and forth by just hitting harder and hitting softer and not always down strums, right? I'm not trying to just do down strums, and I'm certainly not trying to make a specified pattern. The reason I refer to it as the ocean effect is that the oceans, the waves of the ocean, they're not predictable. They move however they want. Sometimes they're large waves, sometimes they're small waves, sometimes they're fast, and it's constantly ever changing, and that's why they're fun to watch. And when you strum, you're looking for the same kind of dynamic. You want it to be less predictable to a listener so they can engage in what you're doing. Where if you're just going like this the whole time, it can get to be too much after a while. Maybe for a song, that's fine, but to do that for 30 straight minutes would just be too much. So the goal is learning how to back off, learn how to strum harder in various different places. Here's something else to think about with that. When you're strumming, try and strum by what we're doing is what we call accenting. I'm accenting some down strums, but I also want to learn how to accent an up strum as well. Watch this. See how I can go back and forth? Now, to tie into the second part of this, when I'm doing this dynamic variation of volume, accenting and louder, softer, however you want to think of it, what plays right into that as well is how many strings I'm strumming. I don't feel obligated to strum all 6 strings all the time just because they're available to me on a G chord. I can strum as little or as much of this guitar chord as I choose to get a different kind of dynamic. So again, I kind of think of the guitar as being in different sections. Like I've got my top section, my middle section, and my bottom section, or the thin string section. Now, you could think of it as just, the top and the bottom, whatever works for you. But the point is when I'm strumming, again, I'm not defining what section I want to play in. I'm just aware that as I strum and I strum softer, I might strum less strings. So I might hang out on those thinner strings as I'm strumming softer to get a different kind of sound, where when I strum more aggressively, I might hit all the strings more. And they kind of go hand in hand with each other, okay? So it's worth looking at that and thinking about it a little bit. Again, I'm not giving you a specified strumming pattern to look at. I'm just giving you some different ideas of things to think about as you're strumming to try and make your strum sound more authentic to a listener as they listen to you play, okay? The last thing I want you to think about is strumming more or less. And oftentimes it would be less. Okay, leaving more space to be more, to keep things more interesting, okay? You can make things more moody by leaving space. So you see, that way, my heavier strums, my more aggressive strums, are more dynamic. They're more colorful. Where if I'm strumming hard all the time, or I'm strumming really soft all the time, there's no dynamic there. So the nice thing is if you can learn to strum softer and strum less strings, and maybe strum less strums, right? When you do add more, or you do strum harder, or whatever it might be, it becomes more noticeable to a listener. And these are things that are really, really important to think about. And again, we're going to cover these things and so many other different things that can help you with your strumming if you're having a problem with that in my guitar course, Strumming Made Easy. So please have a look at that if that's something that you could use in your playing. And please make sure, practice these tools, see what they can do for you, and make sure that you practice on a daily basis. Stay positive with your practicing. If you get frustrated, take a little break, come on back, and give it a try again. But I promise you that these things can work for you if you just try and absorb them and make them make sense. Don't be in a big hurry. Just spend some time with them. So take care, stay positive, and I'll talk to you soon.